Hello, friends, and welcome to Worldbuild with us. Welcome to Worldbuild with us, episode 200. Y'all thought we'd be dead by now, but no, we made it all the way to episode 200. That's absolutely right. You should know me by now. My name is Rob Hilferty. I'm here with my co-hosts Daniel Quinn and Courtney Staples. Oh boy, we did it, y'all. This is where we start getting the big venture capitalist money. This is where people start giving us millions of dollars for each episode. We're going to start talking to Jordan B. Peterson. We're going to start. This is where we completely sell out.
Wait, when do we go on InfoWars?
Yeah, we're going to be on InfoWars. Look out for us there. We're going to be getting exclusive Spotify deals, and we're going to start doing video recordings of our faces in a studio. That's right. Get ready.
Naked.
Yeah. Daniel will be naked. Yes, absolutely.
Do subscribe to my OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly. Look, hey, you were talking about looking for a patron to support you in your role-playing game. Daniel, it's called OnlyFans. That's how the people do it nowadays. You have your avenue. Anyway. So yeah, on today's episode, we are celebrating 200 episodes of Worldbuild with us by celebrating with you, the listeners, the patrons especially. So a bit of a weird episode today, admittedly. Daniel and I have no idea what's going on, but Courtney has 10 tenets supplied to us by our patrons, by our listeners, our beloved patrons. Some of them been around for ages, literally the beginning in some cases, right? But they've supplied us with tenets, and we're going to be doing a world building jam, 2 of them, in fact, based around the tenets that we've been supplied. And oh boy, I'm excited, y'all. Today's a celebration. It's different. So if this is your first episode, welcome. I'm sorry for the energy that we've got going on already, except I'm not, because man, it's fun. Go back and listen to some other stuff, maybe come back. Either way, we're happy to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. Otherwise, strap in and enjoy the ride, right? Let's go. Before we get into that, normally what we would be doing is listeners submit their prompts and then we build a world based around the prompts that we are given. Now, if that sounds cool, you want to go to our website, worldbuildwithus.com, where you can click the link, follow the instructions, and with a reasonable amount of time, we'll be building your world. We're on Twitter @Let's Worldbuild, soon to be exclusive on Spotify. That's a lie. That's a joke. Don't worry about it. Of course, if you want to come join our Discord and chat with us, and if you want to pick the brain of Jordan P. Peterson, let us know. That's fine too. Realistically, it's where you'll come to chat with us about all sorts of world building stuff, all that good stuff. You know how it is. And then, of course, if you are extremely generous, like our patrons, or if you just feel like you want to give us a tip, or if you want sweet, sweet patron exclusive goodies like, oh, I don't know, patron only Discord and patron only episodes, go to our Patreon. Give us money, and then you get stuff back, or not. No worries either way. And before we get into the episode proper, we have for episode 200, of course, we have another announcement. We will be launching our podcast onto, this is serious, by the way, the Spotify stuff, the Jordan B. Peterson stuff, not serious. This announcement is actually genuinely serious. We will be uploading our podcasts onto YouTube for easier consumption, and so we can finally ask people to smash the like button and subscribe, the thing that we have been trying to avoid since day one. But no, it is in fact happening. So our YouTube channel should be out by the time this episode goes live. If you hear this, go ahead and swing on by, give it a listen, give it a subscribe, all that stuff, if you like, or not. No sweat either way. Like I said, this is a low stakes podcast here. Anyway, enough of the shilling. Let's get it down to it. Courtney, you are our game mistress today, so you're going to roll the dice. What's the first tenet? Who's it from? And let's see what we got going on. What are we starting with?
So our first tenet comes from our patron commissar Whiskers, who says,
long time.
A very long time, yes. Who says that the worlds are aligning, allowing an extremely rare mass migration.
A mass migration. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm immediately thinking that the migration is between worlds themselves. That's where my brain kind of goes, where it's like somehow the planets are close enough where you're literally able to jump from one planet to the other. Not literally jump, but like effectively, like,
They get
you know,
really
like,
close.
yeah, exactly. Like dangerously close, even, right? But that's where my brain goes. But I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I do like that. I mean, another way to take it, which I don't necessarily want to go in this direction, but as a alternative is like the worlds are aligning on different planes of existence and there are somehow like
Ah.
portals opening up or something like that.
Sure. So like you see like a giant gate and it's like clicking open. That's kind of cool too. Okay. You know, we'll keep our options open as we
Mhm.
roll into a second tenet, I suppose, and figure out where we can go from there. Unless Daniel wants to throw in a third wrench to this situation.
What I find appealing about that is what could have been preventing migration between them. And so I wonder if perhaps there was some sort of danger in the space between. Now that they're aligned, that danger's gone.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay. So what you're suggesting is that the alignment prevents a danger that was previously there, correct?
Yeah, like there, whatever gap was between these worlds made it impossible to migrate.
Sure. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, so hit us with your second tenet, Courtney. Give us the roll and tell us who it's by and where it's from.
This one comes from patron Gluax, another very long time patron.
Gluax is the OG. We literally would not have a Patreon without Gluax. So they're like, hey, you have a Patreon? I'd like to give you money. And like, we should have a Patreon, I think. And then so a big thank you to Gluax for that. A big old thank you for that one. The literal OG patron.
Yes. So their tenet is that life's key resource is not a liquid. So how living things in our world depend on water, a liquid. That
Mhm.
is not the case here.
Okay. Is it cheating if I say it's a gas?
If it ends up being a liquid, yes.
Damn it.
What gas did you have in mind?
Some kind of a liquid.
Yes, steam.
I mean, my thought is, life forms that are not carbon based. So perhaps like a silicon based life form that doesn't rely on water. So it's some other kind of life that lives on these planets.
Yeah, that's certainly more in your realm, Daniel. I literally could not begin to like one, I don't know scientifically how that would function. And two, I'm not sure if I care enough to do the research to figure that out.
Oh, maybe that's why it was dangerous to travel between worlds
Oh.
previously. Like there was something about the way that either outer space or these gates between planes or whatever we end up going with that like
Mhm.
that resource wasn't active in that case, but when they're
Mm.
all aligned, something triggers, and that's why these things are able to like move between worlds because they
Okay.
can actually survive doing that passage.
Okay. Can we take a page out of the brilliant movie by M. Night Shyamalan, Signs, and have these creatures be aquaphobic? And the thing that was in the way is, in fact, a liquid of some kind or a water of some kind?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if this is a weird kind of space, the space itself is liquid, and these worlds are not inside.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's super cool because that implies like if we're looking at this like from an alignment perspective, I'm just imagining that something happens where like the waters recede to like this swirling vortex around this space. And it's like finally we're free, we can move about freely.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. How long does this event last, by the way?
I wonder if the space of the story is about migration. Could it be that the story itself takes place when the alignment happens, but there's an uncertainty as to when it ends? So
yeah.
Like this is the first time it's actually happened in recorded history.
Yeah, and so it's like sure the story could be like several years long or whatever, but the story is when the alignment is,
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that. That sounds dope. Yeah,
agreed.
100%. I think it's time we can roll into a new tenet, Courtney. Is that correct? Yeah. Why don't you get us going with that next tenet?
So this one comes from Kaiser, our patron Kaiser. And
shout out Kaiser.
Yes. This tenet is that there are demons in the plumbing.
Okay, well I mean, yeah. Okay, first of all, from Kaiser, that's a very interesting one, I think, because Kaiser's stuff is always like so grounded in like very serious things. And then now it's like, nah, fuck it. There's like shit demons, I guess. Okay, when we say plumbing, right, because these things are aquaphobic, can it be like it's not just the water? There's also like malevolent water spirits within the water itself that also prevent travel?
But I take it as metaphorical, so it seems like either in the waters or maybe whatever remnants of the waters having receded, there's something problematic.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for literal demons.
Actual demons. Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with like literal water demons. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about to split the difference? What about Deep Space Nine demons? So,
what, the tar things that kill that lady?
No, I said Deep Space Nine. So,
Daniel, you know I haven't seen Star Wars. What are you talking about?
For our Star Trek fans, Deep Space Nine is the one Star Trek series that did a fantastic job merging religion with science fiction in a realistic way. And so there's these demons called the Pa-wraiths, and they depicted them as both demons that are magical and aliens. So I think that would be cool if they're perceived as demons and they operate as demons as far as we're concerned. But since this seems to be in a more space setting too, they're also technically aliens.
Okay, you just spent a whole lot of words telling me that the demons are demons. But yes, I'm okay with this. Yeah.
What did they do in
what differentiates them between like aliens, I suppose? Like how are they magical?
So in like and this is me remembering each time, there's this wormhole that opens up, and it's like a novel event, at least in the Star Trek universe, because it connects two parts of space they can't reach. And inside the wormhole there are these aliens that live outside of time, but their counterparts are these Pa-wraiths, which are basically the evil versions of those. And so the captain's interactions with them are mystical and kind of religious and divine, and there's a culture nearby that worships them. So you're never really sure if they're actually just aliens or if they have some kind of divine essence to them. And the powers are the same, and they kind of can possess people. So it's kind of cool to see this treatment of something that's technically an alien, but it was done in a very reverent sort of religious way.
So are they explicitly evil, or do they have their own will, or like what are we looking at here exactly?
In Deep Space Nine or in this?
In Deep Space Nine.
I mean, they're opposed to what's going on. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say anything is fundamental. I wouldn't say anything is fundamentally evil in Star Trek, but they're not good.
they're not good. Okay,
they're not your friends.
Right, but can you give an example of like how they express like evil or they're like
being not good?
I mean, I remember. So there's aliens in the show that are basically like Nazis, the Cardassians, and they end up aligned with them because they possess like their leader at the end. And so they seem to be more like, and I'm trying to remember vaguely. I watched this like a long time ago. They kind of like are opportunistic as far as I can remember.
I see.
Okay.
So maybe we can toss in some possession here. So literal demons, metaphorical plumbing, right? We'll split the difference there.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Maybe that's like part of the danger in going into the water. Even if they had like a craft or something, like these demons could possess them and get access to their civilization.
I also like the idea of like this whole thing being presented in a very mystical, religious way. But when you like take a step back and look at the text, you're like, oh, this is a sci-fi book. You know, that would be kind of
Yeah.
It's called like The Crossing, so it can be like mystical and like, oh, it's like a literal, you know, like all that stuff that mixed metaphor nonsense. Okay, I'm down with this. All right, so what is I suppose we keep it rolling. What's the next tenet that we can move on to?
Another one from Kaiser, actually.
Oh, okay.
The setting is based on a possessed warship.
On a possessed warship?
Warship, yep.
Okay. So obviously, to me anyway, this suggests that the voyage is being done by a warship and it's being possessed as it goes through. Actually, what do y'all think? I'll stop there. But like the journey itself, the crossing itself is on a warship of some kind.
That was my thought too.
Yeah. And like the demons are encroaching.
So we've got like, suddenly we have a very claustrophobic setting where it's like, oh no, it's like Das Boot, but with water demons, I suppose, and also with sci-fi. Okay, yeah, because warship suggests like, okay, it's a spaceship, right? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like worship also suggests perhaps this migration is happening, and there might be an opportunity for some faction to overcome some other.
Yeah,
True.
Maybe they've been waiting to take ground.
Oh, can you imagine? I mean, I know that we had it in our heads that like, or someone suggested that this is the first crossing, but can you imagine a war that has to be put on hold and the grudges that maintain? Like, and they're like, all right, the portals finally open up. We can finally re-engage with the enemy 25 years later or something like where you're so pissed about it,
It could be like going back to like the mystical religious thing. It could have happened like hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. And it's just been like written down in a holy text that, there's this ongoing war. And as soon as the gates open, we need to continue our holy war against this other culture, even though they haven't had any exposure to them for however many years.
So the last crossing was so long ago that like history basically forgot that it existed. Is that what you're suggesting here? And so that
is presented in such like a mystical way. Like there's nothing concrete about the time. It's like reading Genesis, like the book of Genesis, and how people are living for like 900 years. There's no sense of like scale, really, time wise.
Okay,
yeah, I like that. Okay. It seems like an endless holy jihad. Like it's kind of Dune-esque, where it's like there's a continual war between whatever these cultures are in this floating like sea. And when there's an opportunity to cross the sea, that's when you continue the war.
Oh, and those demons suddenly become a little bit less physical or a little bit less literal when it's like, if we have a jihad here, if we have a crusade here, then it's like the demons are in fact just the other culture who live. Oh, it's like, yeah, it's like they're living in the water. It's like, oh, the water is evil to us, like that's the easy thing if we wanted to do it that way. But I find that somewhat distasteful for some reason.
Well, I like the notion that, if the story, we zeroed in the story to take place during a migration, it sounds like we can zero in further to be on this warship that's been launched because of the migration. And it also seems to be the case that during the crossing, someone or some class of people are possessed by the demons. And so maybe their motivations are altered. Like I imagine the culture has a goal of taking extra ground between worlds, right, from the other culture because the war is on. But maybe the demons have their own intentions, and so they're like the pirates. They've taken some bodies to also fuck up that whole situation for their own goals.
Yeah.
So there might be like a third party involved here, and like the demons might be that third party, is what you're suggesting. Okay, that sounds cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right. So let's get. I think we're on our last tenet. Is that correct, Courtney?
Yeah.
So hit us with the last tenet, and then we can kind of recap and then reconvene.
This is another one from Gluax, and that is all fluids are non-Newtonian fluids.
What the fuck? Gluax? What is that, Daniel? What does that mean? You're our chief science officer here. What the fuck does that mean?
So Newtonian physics would seem to suggest old physics. Let me just double check. As opposed to like classical physics, as opposed to like quantum mechanics. But let me just, I'm not a physicist, so let me just Google this real quick. What is Newtonian versus quantum? It's okay. So I'm right about that. Newtonian physics, we're three-dimensional with height and depth. Energy comes in tiny lumps, and quantum physics is about the physics of the really tiny.
So non-Newtonian fluids are fluids that don't follow Newton's law of viscosity. So basically, variable viscosity dependent on stress.
Gluax, you did not give us a tenet. You gave us homework.
That is interesting. Hold on, let's see. Because it might apply to our liquid space if we take. Let me look at this non-Newtonian fluid. Viscosity can change, therefore either to be more liquid or more solid. So so we could play with this. We could say, and I'm not going to read the rest of this wiki article because it's for physicists, but maybe this is the composition of the space that we're in. They think, again, I can make a Star Trek reference. Think of fluidic space with the forget what they're called. They're an alien that that they're worse than the Borg, and they have a number designation. They're like the worst, most powerful alien species in all of Star Trek. So maybe the liquid space.
Oh, you're
that we're
talking
in,
about the floomps, right?
that would be D&D, but similar.
No. That's flump. We're talking
flump.
about
What's
the floomps. Yeah, the
I don't know what
floomps.
that is.
They're the evil race that you're talking about. I'm 100% sure about that.
It's Star
I'm
Trek.
also 100% fucking with you, Daniel. Don't
Okay, anyway,
take
the aliens in Star Trek that are in this fluidic space, like they're able to travel insane distances because they use it. It's like a special kind of space. It's not like ours. And they're worse than the Borg, and they're viciously powerful. So I'm wondering, maybe like the space, the reason why you can't travel through it, and we call it like water or fluidic, is because it's a non-Newtonian kind of space or something like that. Because it says like changing from more liquid or solid depending on the force involved. Like maybe the presence of ships is what fucks it up. So it has to be, you can't really travel through it because, when you turn your engines on, it fucks up the space. So maybe when it recedes, that's when you can travel through it.
I'm just thinking of like ferrofluid for some reason, but like that in space. Like that's basically where my brain goes to visually.
Although as I read more about this, it seems like the non-Newtonian is just like regular fluids, like ketchup is one.
All right, so space is ketchup.
Or oobleck.
Ooh, oobleck. Okay.
Yeah, because that's the one where like if you apply force to it, it like doesn't give in, right? Is that it?
Oobleck is the paper mache glue mixture that I made in elementary school.
Or it's the cornstarch water stuff.
I mean, we can take this in the spirit of the thing, right? So if we're taking it in the spirit of ketchup is as in the wiki article. The next sentence, right, in that wiki article that you looked up, Courtney, it says ketchup, for example, becomes runnier when shaken and is thus a non-Newtonian fluid, right? So the essence of this is that when you do stuff to the liquid, it takes a different shape, right? Than is expected. If you shake water, it's the same damn thing, right? But that's not the case for ketchup. That's what we're saying, right? So perhaps all of space in the setting is like that.
What ketchup are you eating? When I squeeze the bottle, the ketchup comes out in a line. What do you?
Well, if you don't shake it, it like
solidifies.
Yeah, or it like separates.
Right. Exactly. So the idea here is that perhaps their space, if it's not interacted with, it's fluid, but if it's interacted with, it becomes more solid and you can't pass through it. That's their whole problem.
Okay. That I can jive with. Okay. That I'm down with. So we've got the crossing. So does this battleship, is it able to navigate non-Newtonian liquid, or is it a matter of like, hey, this is just a battleship that is able to traverse worlds?
I mean, I think once the liquid's receded, it can travel.
Right. So it's not piercing the fluid. It's just like traveling in its absence with this new like alignment, correct?
Or maybe it's like, since it's trying to be maybe sneaky in its attack going towards this other civilization, it's going too close to the outskirts of what's safe. And that's why it's getting possessed.
Gotcha.
Too.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a stealth ship. So it's like maybe they're trying to get ahead of the crossing. So they launched it early just as the waters are parting and they're drifting in it,
Yeah.
And right as the front of the ship is like kind of just barely grazing that liquid, like it starts to be more and more corrupt as it goes on or something like that. Yeah. Sure. Okay.
That's brilliant.
Now I'm realizing one thing we have not answered, right? Gluax's tenet. Life's key resource is not a liquid. We have not answered what life's key resource is.
Well, I mean, it's also presented in a very broad way,
Right.
Like the key resource of life doesn't necessarily mean water, like you could make the same argument with light
and air.
And air, right?
Okay. So let's not try and do a cop out. Let's just do something wacky then, I suppose, like fucking gummy bears or some shit like that. Obviously something better than gummy bears, but like what is the thing that we can like quickly like say like life's key resource is not liquid, it is this is why I said gas the first time. Gas is just easy, right?
I do like the idea of light, and I wonder if there's something that we can do in that direction, like even if we don't go with light.
Can we do something that's not like the light we're used to? Can we do like a cold light or something like that?
Well, okay, so hold on to that. light or
Okay.
energy, right?
Holding.
But hold on to that. Questions I would ask to help us think is, you've got these worlds surrounded by this solidified space that occasionally recedes. What are these worlds running out of individually that they need? It could be light. It could be in darkness while it's, surrounded. Who knows?
Or like some
that's
sort of
cool.
radio wave or radiation from space that's gradually being blocked by the stuff in the way.
Yeah, could
That's
the
really
worlds the worlds get dim when they're embraced, and so when they recede, they're able to radiate. But I don't know what the radiation comes from.
Yeah, I'm thinking now that like the things that go away during the alignment also encase each planet in this kind of like self-reflective like fluid, right? So like this weird kind of fluid that we're talking about that makes it non-navigable is also the thing that like prevents like the thing that they need from getting in effectively, right? So whether that be light or maybe it just filtered through light or something like that. I don't know. I'm kind of spitballing here.
Yeah, I'm trying to like figure out what it could be that wouldn't be completely blocked to the point where they would just die off when they're surrounded.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like, oh, you put a big dome over the earth, now we can't breathe. Okay, that's fucked. Like, but like
narratively too, we want it to connect to the demons of their purpose,
Okay, so it's God's light. Demons are preventing God's light from coming into our
I'm trying to think, if I think of them as like another kind of life form that we don't understand, like what are they drawn to from the waters? Why are they drawn to surround these worlds?
Maybe they're drawn to the heat of the worlds. Like because space is so cold, so they kind of flock to the worlds like bugs would go to light, like moths flying to light.
That's actually really cool. And so like the migration is actually just this kind of non-Newtonian liquid being like, all right, let the thing breathe so it can reabsorb the heat. And then, it goes right back into it because it's like, okay, they've starved themselves for too long,
Okay. So how about that? So then if it's going inward to absorb power from these worlds and then receding to kind of digest it, right? Could it be, instead of warmth, could it be something like life force or their minds or psychic energy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because heat doesn't really make sense. There's a lot of other sources of heat in the universe that are better than
why not? Yeah, why not just surround the sun? Yeah,
right.
You're right. You're absolutely right, Daniel.
It's like what's essential about these life for the people on this world, and also it would make more sense that they're possessing them at the edges because as the ship is passing through, it contains minds.
I think what I'm starting to see, by the way, is that the non-Newtonian liquid that is floating around these things and like creating this passage, they're pure liquid demon, right? So the passage that they're allowing is like the response of an organism or the response of a being that we might see as alien or we might see as demon, depending on the era and the age and like the information provided. So the liquid isn't even a fucking liquid at this point. It's like a liquid being or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then the possession, I mean, like, that's just like, that's to me, it's just like, oh, it's a symbiote, like just attaching to the person. And okay. So the possession eventually like overcomes the person, right? It is kind of what Daniel was saying. Like it's the demon craving a life force or a soul so badly that it reaches out and it like drinks greedily and deeply. And so you're effectively burning out this individual person really, really fast. So maybe the possessed thing is incredibly strong and incredibly powerful, but it's only for a very limited amount of time. It's not like the possessions that we're used to where it's like, wow, that demon's been in that child for like 3 years. We really got to get around to doing something about that eventually, like that kind of thing.
I like the idea of it happening very rapidly. So like it's sort of a horror element to it. Like you're on this warship traveling very close to this stuff that, that would mean death for you if you were to go into it. And all of a sudden, like you become super aware of how all of your crew members are acting, because if they start acting off in any way, that could be a signal that like in 5 minutes, they're going to go ballistic and try to kill everybody.
Mhm.
On the flip side, it does allow for some level of like safety because like you can wait it out. You know, like you can like, we just got to make it till dawn or something like that, you know, and then you'll realize that the possession's over. But in that meantime, holy shit, that thing's going to be insanely dangerous, you know?
Yeah.
That's cool. I can dig this entirely, 100%. Like we've effectively created like the terror or, you know, like what is, you know, like a horror story on a ship, but like with all this cool sci-fi / mystical trappings around it, you know?
Yeah.
That's dope. Hell yeah.
Agreed. I like it.
We should go back and do a recap of all the tenets to make sure that we're not missing anything though, right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So Courtney, in your best Terry Gross NPR voice, can you recap the tenets that we've been provided?
Sure. So the first tenet that we had, which was from Commissar Whiskers, is that the worlds are aligning, allowing an extremely rare mass migration. And I feel like we've definitely dealt with that pretty well.
Absolutely. It's not just a migration, it's also a fucking battle as well. So yeah, I'm down with that. Yeah.
And the second one came from Patron Gluax, who said that life's key resource is not a liquid. So unlike how living things in our world depend on water, that is not the case here.
Yeah, and we've made that pretty clear that like the non-Newtonian liquid, which we're going to get to eventually, are also like pretty much straight up evil to the people of these worlds. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then third one from Kaiser, there are demons in the plumbing.
We've definitely done that.
Yep.
100%.
Literal demons in the plumbing of space.
Yes, that's correct.
And then the fourth one, also from Kaiser, the setting is based on a possessed warship.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, we that helped narrow the narrative quite a bit, and I appreciate that actually.
Yeah, I like how that worked out. And then the last one, again from Gluax, all fluids are non-Newtonian fluids.
Yeah, again, we definitely nailed that one. I think.
Once we learned what non-Newtonian fluids are.
Once we took a physics course, it was fine.
We took some interpretation because we didn't do all fluids, but I think like that would just be kind of tedious. So
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got more prompts, more tenets, and more patrons to shout out. So let's roll right into our next setting. Literally roll. So Courtney, what is the roll that we've got here?
All right. Again, starting with Commissar Whiskers.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. They're saying that people try to communicate with plants, believing it will improve their growth. Instead, the noise just annoys them.
The people or the plants? I'm assuming they mean the plants.
I think it means the plants. That's what I would assume.
Okay. Well, that's actually very fun. I'm not sure how we're going to integrate that, but sure. That's
tough
dope.
One to start with. Yeah,
I agree. We've got to make plants central somehow, but all right.
Mm-hmm.
As Isaac Asimov said, not enough information to process just yet. For a meaningful answer. That's right.
I'm sure. Yeah. So let's roll for the next tenet and we'll see what happens next.
This one comes from patron Diplomacy Raptor, who says that one of the moons is the skull of a dead god with a singular giant sapphire eye remaining. The rest of his fossilized remains orbit the planet as a ring system around the planet. It's pretty metal.
That's pretty metal.
Yeah.
It's pretty metal.
You got like spinal cord around the planet. It's pretty cool.
Sure. So we've got a moon. It's got a big sapphire in it. Eventually, corporations are going to go up there and mine the fuck out of the moon for that giant gem. I'll tell you that right now. But okay, so this to me reeks of like a fantasy setting as well, because you've got druids who are like speaking to plants, and the plants are just like, God, fuck off, Dave. I don't care.
I love that. Yeah.
It's also got a Terry Pratchett vibe right now, just because I'm thinking like, okay, we think that's a giant sapphire. That is in fact just a giant monocle. That's what I'm going with right now.
His top hat toppled off into space somewhere.
Oh no, it fell into the sun. Damn. All right. So yeah, these are all good things. What do we got for the third one? Let's find some direction here.
Maybe soon.
Mm-hmm.
So this one comes from Ian Woodworth of the Undercommon Taste podcast.
Hey, what's up, Ian?
And actually, it ties in pretty well. He's saying that
go on.
plants are capable of conscious thought. The larger and older they are, the more intelligent they are, and they can eventually attain sentience or even sapience, and can communicate telepathically with other life forms once they
Son
have
of a
reached
bitch. Okay.
sufficient biomass. So that works. That works out
Yeah,
well.
no, that works remarkably well. So I'm looking at like two parallel worlds effectively, right? Where these humanoids are like, we've got to learn to speak for the trees, you know, like, and the trees are just like, nah, we're good, thanks. We don't really want to listen to y'all, you know.
There also seems to be some relationship between the deadness of the god and, at least metaphorically, the deadness of the god and the presence of plants, because plant life speaks to me of growth and renewal, right? And the dead god that's been broken into pieces and has a piece of like sapphire in its eye or whatever seems to be something old and not growing, you know?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from that is that the plants that we're talking about here are effectively like the decay from the dead god that have just gained sentience.
Or maybe like something arising from its death, perhaps, because they also seem annoyed by like they seem annoyed by people questioning them, right?
Oh, okay, hold on. So it's from the decomposition of the dead god. And so the plants, these plants in particular, are seen and revered, and the trees themselves are just like, man, we just want to like hang out and do shit. Like, we're not a god, but because the language hasn't been perfected yet, the people who are trying to speak to the trees don't understand that. And so there's still like this awe and reverence with which the trees are treated. And the trees themselves are just annoyed because they're not divine creatures. At least they claim not to be.
It could also be that the trees, if their consciousness came from this god event, they could be like annoyed by the fact that they have consciousness now. Like we were happy just like doing the growing, absorbing sunlight. Now we're cursed with intelligence and we have to worry about you assholes like trying to talk to us all the time.
They may also carry a burden of the god in some way that they don't want to, you know?
You mean beyond sentience?
Yeah, being that they arose from it, there might be some connection to it that annoys them as well. Like perhaps people are supplicant to the plants, thinking they'll get something for worshiping them. Gotcha. And the plants are like, fuck you, we're sentient now. We don't need to do anything, you know?
Yeah.
Do what we want.
So like the people expect it to be like transactional, and the plants are like, we really don't give a fuck about you. Like just go away, please.
Yeah.
I want to posit, however, that these plants are not malicious. They're just like so unbothered with like humanity. It's like, it's kind of like a benign version of elder gods, where the elder gods actively don't care about you and like are just willing to run you over. But like with these tree things, they're just like, we actively don't care about you, but we're in our own lane, so please leave us be. You know, like that kind of
right. Yeah, they kind of are
independent. Right. They're like, they actively don't want worship, effectively, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This is fun so far. We're getting there.
Agreed on like the Terry Pratchett vibes that you brought up before.
Oh yeah.
Very much
100%.
Like all right. So our fourth one. So again, from Ian Woodworth of Undercommon Taste, the story is split between the physical world and a virtual or alternate reality.
Okay, sure. This works so far.
I mean, the spiritual realm is pretty easy go to.
That's what I was thinking as well. Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Realm of the dead.
Hold on. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. So the plants' consciousnesses exist on like this kind of spiritual plane, and what's happening is the humans are like putting themselves into near-death trances to try and talk to the trees in the dead realm, right? So they're like they're encroaching upon this alternative space through these rituals to try and communicate with the trees, and the trees just actively don't care. They're like, we're vibing on our own plane. Please fuck off and leave us be, you know, like that kind of thing.
It could also be like people are trying to eat the fruit from the trees in order to get closer and like to get access to this other plane, and the trees are like, can you please stop like ripping parts of me off? This is painful. Like,
gotcha.
You need to go away.
It'd be ayahuasca sort of thing to put you together, the two of you together, eat the fruit, and it makes you a near death, you know?
And the trees are like these fucking hippies over here, just sitting in the woods, puking up their guts, trying to get closer to us.
Okay.
I also wonder, because there's the whole concept of this dead god out there with broken system bits all over in a ring. And I wonder if like there's that space can be traversed through the spiritual realm, you know, that dead space. Like, so by eating the fruit and going to kind of near death psychic land, you end up in this like domain of the dead, which is the remnants of the god's body in the ring, where you're exploring both, you know, where the plants live in the divine level and also where this god's like psychic resonance is.
So it's like astral projection to the extreme is what you're suggesting?
I just kind of bring in I like the vision of this broken ring of the god's parts. And it would be cool if you could explore it. But obviously you can't explore it physically because it's in space. But maybe you could explore it astrally, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. So like you do this like ceremony, you eat the fruit or the tea or whatever you've prepared. And like all of a sudden you can maybe even like see the actual god as it would look if it wasn't decayed.
Yeah.
Oh, you see the remnant soul of the god in this astral world, right? And he's just like floating above the horizon of this world. So like how fucking trippy would it see if you looked out your window, looked up at the giant sky, and there was like this ephemeral, like prismatic god being just floating above.
Yeah.
Like, what in the fuck is
terrifying.
that? Yeah, a little bit.
Well, I mean, I can already see adventures arising, because if you have a dead god, right, and its power has been distributed sort of through these plants that are coming to be, I can see someone thinking, well, perhaps I can, you know, assume the mantle of this god, so I'll eat the fruit, be transferred to the realm of the broken god, approach the skull, take the sapphire's power, and make myself a god. You know, that could be a whole story.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm also thinking now of like combat taking part within this kind of astral realm, and like how everything has like a tracer and everything looks like it's on fire a little bit, you know, like the kind of wavy effect. And so when you're in this kind of divine realm or this astral realm, you know, you look at each other and you're like, oh, you look like you really are. And it's like a decayed husk of a person or like a paragon of a person. And, you know, it's like a reflection of their inner being and stuff like that. And also, again, I love that the trees are just like, God, fuck off, Dave. I don't care. Like, yes, I see that you're a beautiful paragon. Yes, I get it. I do not care. Please go. Please leave me alone.
I just want to chill with the birds. Absorb sunlight.
Hey, Dave, you know who's not fucking annoying? These chill ass birds over here, right? Why do you think I let them nestle within me and like create nests? They're cool. All right, let's roll the last tenet and see what we got going, because this has been a fucking hoot and a half over here. It's been fun.
Yeah. So our last one again comes from Diplomacy Raptor. This, I think, basically serves as a twist because he's saying there are dwarves who use obsidian surfboards to surf on lava, and their culture takes major cues from Polynesian culture.
I mean, okay. Yeah, I mean, that Terry Pratchett vibes still maintain 100%, you know.
Yeah, big time. I wonder if like, are the dwarves in the astral plane as well?
Maybe they're only in the astral plane.
They're surfing the astral sea. Yes, obviously.
Of lava, yes.
They exactly. I feel like they're maintainers of the dead realm of the god in some way. They live out there.
Can instead of lava, can it just be sap from the tree? So like in the astral world, the sap that these trees project is so voluminous. Like it's like
that's better.
Maybe it's even dangerous to people who aren't from the astral plane. Like it acts like lava to them. It's like concentrated psychic energy or something.
Oh that's really oh yeah, because like in order for you to like travel to the astral plane, you have to like absorb the tree juice, right? The sap. And then once you're there, you look at that and it's like poison. Radiation. It's poison. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's
and lava. It's
lava.
Instead
of surfboards, can we have kind of a middle ground? So I'm thinking like,
what is the middle ground between surfboard? Is it a skateboard? You put wheels on the surfboard? Like what?
I'm thinking middle ground at sort of planescape spelljammer ships. So they're like these you have to pilot them in a very dangerous way, and they're made of the rock of the dead god's body, and so the dwarves have fashioned
the bone
or the
of
bone
dead
or whatever.
body.
Yeah. So like they've built these ships that are like surfboards to travel on the waves of the psychic energy.
Okay. How about this? They are surfboards with like a sail in them. You know what I mean?
Like multiple people can be on it. You know what I mean? Like it's like a crazy,
but not too many. Not too many. Like maximum 4. Maximum 4.
I could say 4. 4 is fair. He said they're small because it's too dangerous to build a big, vessel.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. We have successfully navigated this tenet.
I wonder if the dwarves are also doing something with the sapphire eye, since if we go with dwarves liking to mine things and liking jewels and stuff, then maybe they're like seeking it out and or protecting it from the people who would be trying to attain godhood.
Courtney, you know what those dwarves are doing? Those dwarves are fucking dying. That's what they're fucking doing.
Could they have been the people who preceded the people in the living world? Like they were the god's original servants and subjects, and now they're few in number, and their faith is dying until the god's faith is dying.
It's been 200 episodes, and I still hate dwarves. I fucking hate them, you guys. God, I hate them.
Like I could see them as diminished beings, right? They're called dwarves because they're diminished, and they're diminished the same way the god is diminished.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. These are purely astral beings, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So can we say that they were once giants and they've literally been diminished as their dead god has been decaying?
Yeah. Yes. Perfect.
Okay, cool. There we go. We did it. So they're also like ferrymen, right? Like they're the ones who are supplying these ships so they can get people to the. Oh, okay. So let's take this a step further then. Yeah. Is it like, okay, we need to ferry like souls to the god itself? So it's like you're kind of like tossing kindling onto a dying fire, but it's like very sparse at this point. It's like we need to get them there. Like we need to establish something that will maintain this kind of burning ember,
Well, I think that feeds back to the concept, especially in Planescape, of a god's power deriving from the faith of its believers. And so if you have a bunch of people whose minds are essentially transported to the astral realm, and they're trying to capture these minds and bring them back to the Sapphire Eye to throw them in or whatever, you're essentially throwing in the person's faith or belief because it's their mind, right?
Right. And rather than trying to like stoke that faith and, have it feed the god long term, they're like, nah, fuck it. We're tossing you into the sun and hoping that it'll like burn up for just a little bit longer,
Right.
I like that. Yeah. And it also, I don't know, I like the vibe of like people venturing onto the astral plane, expecting like a great like religious experience. And when they get there, the trees are like, Jesus Christ, please go away. And the dwarves are like, hey, come with me. Let me just fucking toss you into the.
I like the idea that they're literally like, come, dear pilgrim. Here. Join us on our journey, and then they just literally like toss, they were like slingshot them into the sun.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah. This is a wacky nonsense place. Okay, I love all of this. This is goofy as hell. How can we make sure that there's like stakes and like tension? What's going on here that we can make it interesting? Like, because the narrative is this thing exists, right? That's the narrative that we've established. So what's the narrative that we can then like, amp it up just a little bit more?
Well, I had suggested someone trying to bring that god back, but to co-opt his power,
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm down with that. Absolutely.
It would be opposed to both the dwarves' aims and the trees,
What if it is a tree?
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Go on.
No, just that since Ian's had noted that they over time gain sentience, sapience, and can communicate telepathically once they're old enough and have grown enough. Like, what if they are so annoyed per Commissar Whisker's tenet about everybody trying to contact them that it's like, fuck it, I want to become the one in charge so that I can just like make everybody else shut up and stop bothering us.
I could see a kid or something communing with a plant. The plant tricks them into carrying it into the astral realm. And so the plant it's sentient and it's sapient, right? But it doesn't quite have mobility, but it uses the child as its subject to get close to the god to do that.
Okay.
Love that.
Yeah.
Also have another idea as well. The roots of this astral tree are like trying to snake up and like use the remnants of the dead god
Mhm.
as like a new source, because they think it's like, look, if we absorb this fucking thing, then they'll leave us alone finally, or we'll be as
Mhm.
powerful as possible. So I think that we can kind of reconcile those two concepts, you know, like where there's like a child. Oh, the child thinks that by bringing the god back to earth, they'll actually bring the god back to earth. But in
Mhm.
reality, you're just bringing the god closer so the tree can get at it. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's like the tree wants to be planted on the sapphire itself, so that it can like
Go on. Yeah.
get its roots can dig into the skull of the dead god.
Yeah. There we go.
It's
Yeah.
astral roots, you know, because I
Yeah,
can see him carrying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Imagine a little potted plant, right? Like
Yeah.
that has sentient, but it's powerless, right? But it hates humanity.
Oh, maybe it's a bonsai that's been
Yeah.
pruned. It's like it's
Oh.
centuries old, but it's been
Uh-huh.
pruned, so it's still tiny, and it
Oh,
resents
yes.
humanity for that. And it
Yes.
obviously has like a Napoleon complex, and it's like,
Yeah.
fuck
love
everybody,
it.
I want to be a god now.
It's like the most withered old man. And he's like,
Uh-huh.
I'm so fucking tired of this bullshit. You get me up there and turn me into a god.
What I think what you guys are saying is important. It works because it seems like, at least it seems to me, that the plants themselves can't travel in the astral
Right.
space, so they need a human to traverse the distance, avoid trick the dwarves to get close enough to the sapphire so that it could tap into the eye, and then perhaps when the child touches the sapphire, has it, and they're made to have this power, that's when the tree in the material realm can take over, get its roots in the person,
Yes.
you know, metaphorically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is all really fun stuff. I suppose now is the time where we go back and make sure that we've recapped everything and everything's well and truly sorted. Is that correct?
Yep. Let's do that.
All right. So our first tenet was
That was from Commissar Whiskers. That was that people try to communicate with plants, believing it will improve their growth, but instead the plants just get annoyed.
Yep. I think that is
Yep.
very much true. Yes.
Definitely. The second one was from Diplomacy Raptor, and that is that one of the moons is the skull of a dead god with a single giant sapphire eye remaining, and then the rest of his fossilized remains orbit the planet as a ring system around the planet.
Okay. I'm still convinced that the sapphire is like a contact lens or, you know, like something, or a monocle, whatever you want. You know?
Mm-hmm. Then the third one was from Ian Woodworth of Undercommon Tastes, who says that plants are capable of conscious thought. The larger and older they are, the more intelligent they are, and they can attain sentience, even sapience, and communicate telepathically with other forms of life.
I feel like we've definitely covered that. One thing that I think might be an interesting distinction to make, though, is that the trees only have sentience on that astral realm. Does that make sense to y'all?
Or maybe like they can only communicate on the astral realm. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah,
Mhm.
because that would kind of tie into what Daniel was saying about the need for agency and the need for, you know, like, oh, we can't move on our own, and that's because in the physical realm we're not really capable of, you know, expressing our agency and expressing our needs and desires, right?
Mhm.
But it's only in the astral realm where the tree can talk to people and be like, oh, thank God, okay, you're here, great hero, I guess, sure. You know, like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basically, you know, telepathic communication is through that space.
Correct. Yeah.
And then that also ties into the fourth tenet that we had, that was also from Ian, that the story is split between the physical world and a virtual or alternate reality. And we have the astral plane for that.
That was pretty solid.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. 100%.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. And then the last one, which was from Diplomacy Raptor again, there are dwarves who use obsidian surfboards to surf on lava, and their culture is related to Polynesian culture, which I guess we didn't get into the Polynesian culture very much. But
yeah, I don't think we really need to.
We want to reduce Polynesian culture to surfing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'd rather not be reductive in that way. So I think all the other stuff makes sense. Look, we kept them dwarves. We kept the goddamn surfboards. Like, we made it astral lava. So like, let's not be reductive. Let's not try and do that. So
Mhm.
I think that overall, yes, this makes sense. Like, and
Okay.
somehow we made dwarves on surfboards and lava work
Somehow.
So yeah, I think it makes sense. You know,
Mhm.
the fact that they're diminutive giants also is a little funny. The fact that they're still beholden to this dead god is still kind of interesting. Like,
that they
yeah.
lie to people that just take them over and throw them into
Yeah.
the sun.
Yeah. Get on the slingshot. Yeah.
They're like
Yeah.
secretly, they're outwardly very friendly and fun, but
Mhm.
inwardly like grumpy bastards. You know?
Yes,
The
yeah.
classic dwarf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that totally works for me. I'm down with this. Well, oh man, I think that we've satisfied all elements of all of this, right? Like,
Mhm.
and again, this has been an absolute blast to be able to work through the tenets provided by you, to see how they all kind of come together. Again, these tenets were provided by our patrons randomly, so none of them knew what the other tenets were going
Yeah.
to be. And we rolled randomly, which added more to the chaos factor. And oh boy, yeah, things sure have worked themselves out in a very interesting way.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, so a big thank you to all of our patrons and to you guys, to all of our listeners as well. It's not just about the patrons, it's about the listeners, you guys, for keeping us going, for providing great feedback, for providing great prompts, for helping us do this all along, and for just being here for the ride. 200 episodes. I was certain that I wasn't going to get past 6, and who knew that 194 episodes after that, we would not only have 200 episodes, but a bunch of great patrons, listeners, and
Mhm.
my amazing co-hosts as well.
Aw.
So a big thank you from me for listening and for sticking with us all this time.
Yeah, and thank you for everybody who's ever, submitted a prompt. It's always really fun to see what ideas you all come up with, and then to see how we take it in probably the opposite direction of what you had. So,
But
please
not
keep,
always,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Not
sometimes they do.
always.
So yeah, please keep submitting worlds that you'd like to see built, and yeah, looking forward to another 200 episodes, maybe.
Yeah. Oh man, shut up, Courtney. Shut 200 more episodes. That's like what, another 4 years?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Mhm.
If I had to say something, I would say you're welcome for eighth and milk. And I'm here as long as you want. I can make more of that.
Oh man, the most Daniel thing. You're welcome, fuckers, and then like out of here, just like drops the mic. All right, we're gonna call it there. Thank you all so much for listening. Remember, if you want us to get back to our usual schedule and start building your worlds, go to our website. You know how it is. Fuck the regular exit. You know how this works. It's been 200 episodes. Guys, we love you tremendously. We love you very much. Thank you so much for your continued support. And we're going to get through this together. Until next week.